Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Brotherhood podcast. Got one of my all-time favorite people here today, Coach Kenneth Blakeney, original Brotherhood member. He's built the bricks and the foundation that we stand on now. Now coaching at Howard University the last 7 years. Two-time national champ. Has taken Howard to the national tournament twice. We are very honored and happy to have him back this week for the Brotherhood Run. Welcome, Coach Blakeney.
My man.
What's going on?
What's up, Ty?
How you feeling, man?
I'm great, man. I'm great. It's good to be back home. Good to be in Durham, and it's good to be with you, who helped build the Brotherhood in DC at Burr Arena at Howard University. So
Absolutely.
great to be connected back with you, bro.
It's bittersweet having you guys back, playing y'all on Sunday. During my time at Howard, obviously we spent a lot of time in Durham playing North Carolina Central, and we will always bring the guys back here for practice either the day before or day after that game. How does it feel to be back now and now having your guys tip up on the court in the gym that you played your college time in?
It's awesome. To be back here, to actually know that we're going to play here. I know several years ago during COVID, we were supposed to play in the MTE that was dedicated to Dr. Akari. But because of COVID, we couldn't play that year. So fast forward several years, and to be here for the Brotherhood Run, to bring our team back here, a place that we've practiced numerous times, but actually to tip it up and play, it's awesome. I mean, Ty, we could see a shift in the guys' energy and concentration just being here today. So I think we're really excited to get here.
Absolutely. I think the foundation of the Howard program obviously started for you here. So let's take it back to your time growing up in the DMV area. A lot of obviously really good basketball players, a lot of talent coming out of that area. And just for the Brotherhood and this foundation has been built on DMV guys. Can you go back to when you were coming out of high school and your decision? I know you had a lot of options and opportunities to go to other places, but ultimately your decision to come here and play at Duke. Can you walk us through just that process and everything that went into you making the decision to come here?
Absolutely. It all started with Johnny Dawkins for me. Seeing Johnny Dawkins and seeing Coach K, that's for me where the idea of, hey, if I'm good enough, this is where I'm going. And that was, 86. So at that time, I'm probably 84 when those guys started kicking it off and really getting it rolling in a way that Duke was starting to pop and be hot, and especially in the DMV with Johnny. Johnny was a guy that grew up in my neighborhood. So to see guys talk about him, to see a guy from our neighborhood on TV and Shorty was balling, for me it was really inspirational. So at that point in time, when I'm about 13, 14, 15 years old, I knew I was going to Duke. So, coming down to it, Ty, when I looked at Duke and I had other opportunities, I could have gone to a lot of other schools. I wanted to win championships.
Absolutely.
And that, for me, was the only thing that mattered. It's kind of funny. You have NIL now in the current situation, and there was NIL back then, but that didn't matter for me. Like, the only thing that mattered, I all my life I played in programs that won championships. So for me, I valued winning in championships more than anything else.
Absolutely. And, just keeping it in that time frame, one of your teammates, obviously Grant Hill from the DMV area, can you speak on, obviously, your relationship with him? I know he has been a big-time supporter of you since you've taken over at Howard, but can you just talk a little bit about y'all relationship from kids to obviously coming to play here at Duke, win national championships here at Duke, and the Brotherhood, you guys staying connected, and him also ultimately still continuing to help support you, and obviously vice versa. Absolutely. in this new era?
No, it's been great, man. I met Grant when we were probably about 12 years old. His dad used to bring him into the city, and as Calvin would say, I bring him into the city to get him roughed up a little bit.
Yep.
And we started playing on our first team. It was the youth games national team, where they had teams from all over the country, and we were representing Washington, D.C., and Grant ended up quitting the team because he said I shot too much. But that was our first kind of encounter, and then getting to know, his mom, Miss Janet Hill, getting to know Calvin. They became so influential in my life from that age of 12 until, even now. Sorry, his mom's Mom's passed several years ago, but just the influence that the Hills played in my life was really significant. You know, Janet and Calvin were quietly very influential in my decision to come to Duke.
Absolutely.
I'm a first generation college student. So for them putting in perspective what Duke means in terms of, you know, our country and the importance of the relevancy that Duke brings and what that degree would mean, it just really helped put in perspective what, for me, the next 40 to 50 years of my life would look like.
Yep.
But the relationship with Grant and I, it goes from, being 12 to going to 5-star together. Like I said, the Hills being really influential in my decision to come to Duke. Grant even offered me a job when he got drafted by the Pistons. I turned it down because I didn't want our friendship to come into play with anything.
Yep.
And staying in touch throughout the years. And then he was really impactful, Ty, and influential in me getting the job at Howard, and very helpful. He's been, as you know, a constant supporter of our program, a fan. He knows what's going on. Anytime he's in D.C., he stops by. We got him into so many pair of Jordans over the last couple of years. But just that relationship and bond has been really special, especially from somebody that we've gone through so much together with. Some good times and some adverse times.
Absolutely.
But he's the best.
Absolutely, and we have similar paths in terms of obviously coming from the DMV, coming down here, and then being young coaches in this business. And you started your coaching journey very early. Can you talk to the fans about obviously the decision to obviously hang up playing, but then now going and paying it forward to the next generations on the coaching side?
Yeah. Well, I knew, Ty, that I wanted to be a coach. Mike Bray, Tommy Amaker, two of my mentors, two guys I've worked for, and two guys that have supported the hell out of me throughout my journey from, high school until now, were very influential in my decision to become a coach. When sitting down and trying to figure out, okay, playing options, going over to New Zealand and playing in the ABL, getting into coaching, going to Wall Street, talking to Quinn Snyder, who was a grad assistant at the time. Quinn was, thought that the Wall Street option might be a good part for me. It was a lot of things I had that was popping off. Tommy and Mike just basically said, look, you played for a Hall of Famer and Coach Morgan Wooten, the winningest high school coach in the history of high school basketball.
Yep.
Beat the Matha beat Gonzaga a few times, so I just had to
throw that
start that jab.
We're gonna get there later. We're gonna get there later.
And then played for Coach K, the winningest college coach, and he just is like, there's not too many people in the world with that kind of pedigree, and how you could market that and brand it in a way as a college basketball coach as you move forward. So I give a lot of credit to Tommy and to Mike on understanding and seeing that kind of vision for me and helping me go into that direction.
And that's big time. I think for me, part of my decision to come here at Duke was I did want to be a coach, and I understood there was a lot of former Coach K players that were obviously head coaches that had coached with him. My first few opportunities in the business with Wojo as a GA, and then obviously you give me a call when you were interviewing for the Howard job, and now working for John. I think that is something special that we have here in terms of the knowledge and the tutelage that we've gotten, and then now being able to pay that forward. So during your coaching journey, you had a moment where you decided to pivot and do something different. Can you talk through that? And I know it's kind of helped you make the decision to get back into it, but kind of talk through your transition into other things.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was a little burnt out on coaching. Felt like I was banging my head in this business. I really felt like I was good, but I couldn't really find any upward mobility in the business. And I think a lot of that is probably on me, not being mature enough at times in places that I've been, and I had to grow and I had to learn. So for me, I'm always a guy that, like, if I can't do this the way that I want to do it, then I'm going to pivot and do something else. Mm-hmm. So I started a company called Sport and Styles, and it was an apparel company that licensed with the NBA, Major League Soccer, NASCAR, the Dave Matthews Band, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I can go down the list of things that and projects that we worked on, but it was an accessories company that I felt like it was a niche for opportunities in that licensing space to do fashion stuff. And, so company we ran for 9 years, and we actually still do some projects that we work on, one or two a year, that are really neat and meaningful to me. The Smithsonian just called and asked us if we were working on a project. The Black Baseball Hall of Fame just asked us to work on a Jackie Robinson project. So there's been things throughout the years that we've considered and thought about that we would take a strong look at. But obviously, basketball and being the coach at Howard is my primary focus.
Yep.
But, Ty, I don't think that I would have been ready to be a head coach if I didn't make that move.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was doing Sport and Styles, my really close friend, Nick Blatchford, was the head of grassroots college and MBA at Under Armour. So he asked me if I would get off the couch and come over and help him and do scouting.
Yep.
So I did all the player evaluations for the UA circuit, all the UA college basketball teams and NBA players as well, and advised Nick on guys that they should bring over to UA as a consultant or actually for shoe deals.
Yep.
And while doing that, we're going to different circuits, and Steph Curry is one of our biggest, obviously, basketball clients. We're at the Curry camp, and one of the coaches, unfortunately, dad passed. And with that, we were one coach short. So they're looking around, and it's like, yo, you coached. I'm like, yeah. They were like, we need you to do this. I was like, nah, I ain't trying to do it. Because I knew, Ty, that if I got on that side of the court, what I would feel. And I just remember, coaching for those 3 or 4 days at the Curry camp when I should have been evaluating and pouring everything in because I had so much in me that I probably needed to let out.
Absolutely.
Right? And afterwards, I just remember, Steph calling the coaches up, taking pictures, and I got really emotional. And I got to the side and I started crying. And I knew at that point in time I had to get back into coaching. So, those moments, Ty, being a CEO that had to work with, billion-dollar companies in those certain leagues, doing the stuff I did at UA, I got to understand branding. I got to understand marketing at a way because my title was actually consultant in marketing and branding in global sports basketball.
Gotcha.
So I sat in on all those marketing and branding meetings. And if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't be ready to do the things that obviously what we have to do at Howard, and we have to wear every single hat.
Yep.
So I'm really grateful for those 8 or 9 years that I really had to get out and grind in a way that is a lot different because you're a one-man show.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it, the marketing and branding, and almost when you took the job at Howard, the mindset you gave us as assistants was we got to treat this thing like a startup. And we've got to, like you said, all hands on deck, whatever we need to get done. We can't look for anybody else to get it done but ourselves. Talk to the mindset and the idea of Howard and the brand and the market and some of the brands that you've aligned the Howard men's basketball team with since you've been there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, Ty, because when I was at Harvard, as always, comes up. Probably in 2010 or so, 2009, Tommy came to me and he just asked, he said, hey, would you be interested in the Howard job? And I was like, fuck no. He goes, why? I go, because I grew up in D.C., right?
Yeah.
And anybody that grew up in D.C. kind of feels the same about Howard. Not serious about sports, very serious about academics. And, one of the things we always say is, like, you look at the football field's never changed. You look at the basketball court, that's never changed. And being at Harvard and then, seeing how Tommy built Harvard. Mm-hmm. Because when we got there, I always joke with Tommy, and he probably will punch me for saying this, but, in our lounge, we had furniture that looked like, straight 1970s from Good Times furniture. And it was mismatched, holes in it. And I just saw Tommy just take what he had from that, but using the brand and using the academics and you being the Tommy Amaker brand, build that thing into a program that since he's been there, has been the best program in the Ivy League since 2007, and understanding all the marketing and branding stuff I saw over at Under Armour. And then, when I took over my company, I thought that I was going to be like this fashion designer. My company was 100% a marketing company,
Yep.
but I didn't know that at the time. So all of that marketing and branding stuff for us, Ty, when we started was everything. We came up with the moniker the Dream Factory, because we felt like there were so many firsts and so many dreams that have been recognized and achieved at Howard that if we can bring that same kind of concept and idea over to the basketball court, we can do it. Howard has the first black vice president of the United States, the first black mayor of New York City, the first black governor of Virginia, the first black U.S. ambassador. We can go down the list, the first black woman to vote in a major election. Those things, and we can go down the list of those wonderful accomplishments, right? But on the basketball side, there was no history, there was no tradition, there was no culture. A.B. Williamson did a fabulous job in the 70s and early 80s. But starting as a D2 program and kind of moving that into a D1 space and era, there was a lot that has been missing since AB left. And it was like now trying to connect the dots of all the eras and build and grow that program, which, you're a huge part of. And, it was every day sweat equity that we had to lay down now.
Absolutely. Our first year was a rough year. I'm not going to say the record, but
Can we scratch that?
the end of that season, COVID hits.
Yeah.
And I think for us, that reset allowed us to really dig in and give us a real opportunity to get the vision, the mindset of what the future of Howard basketball looked like when we got out of COVID. Yeah. Can you talk about just that year and a half, 2-year period, and the mindset you had during those times? Because it was very difficult. And I think every year since then, college basketball has changed. But coming out of COVID, that first year out, the excitement that was just around going outside and doing activities and the team we had, and then us being able to capitalize off of that momentum a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, this is coming off the heels of recruiting, Taj. The first 5-star that ever went to an HBCU.
Absolutely.
With McCord Maker, and not being able to fully have him due to COVID and injuries for that year. Our second season basically was a wash. Yep. As you know, we showed up for practice one day and we had the whole team with COVID.
Yep.
And
right after January 1st, I remember that.
Yeah, guys that went home and everybody came back with COVID. And so we come back January 1st, we're getting ready to play our first conference game, and literally everybody has COVID except for the staff. And then, we go through the quarantine period and everybody comes back on the court, and we just basically see guys and how their bodies are reacting to COVID.
14 days in the room, 21 days in the room.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just wasn't fair to I think, those guys. It wasn't fair to our administration, and so we just shut it down. And knowing that we kind of had a reset button. But one of the things we did, Ty, is we ratcheted everything up with competition.
Yep.
We had to reset and kind of redo how we practice, kind of like our mindset a little bit. And we had some guys that came in that I thought really changed the kind of the mood and the culture of our program. We brought in some Ivy League guys that had coached at Columbia with Ty Bibbs and Randy Brumont. Kyle Foster, one of our favorites, who's doing great things right now over in Greece, had grown and mature. It was like a new kind of energy that we were able to kind of attain that really propelled us, I think, to our first winning season, and the growth from there, and I think the momentum just carrying it over. That second year we're in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
And we had a fabulous team. I mean, on that team we had the team before that. Can you imagine at Howard we have 2 guys that signed NBA contracts?
Absolutely. It's special.
It's crazy.
It's
Core Maker, Steve Settles, who are both signed NBA contracts. 12 guys that are playing over in Europe right now. Just what that program has become from not having basketballs and going over to DeMatha to get basketballs. Ty, you know
The
this.
big fans in the gym because we didn't have AC and
Yeah, you come to practice, you don't know if the balls are going to be, the ball closet's going to be locked,
yeah.
or if it
If
rains.
it rains outside, the floor gets slippery
Yeah,
inside.
yeah.
All the things that you know, you
Take for
don't.
granted.
Yeah, you go other places and you don't have to think about
Yeah.
like ways to pivot and not make excuses on why the work doesn't get done. You
Uh,
know.
and we were all about the work. We were like, if we got one ball in two courts, we're good.
Yep. Talk about last time Howard that went to the NCAA tournament was the year you won a national championship. The year I was born, 1992. Talk about that vision of not worrying about it not happening for so long, but wanting to get it done, and the process it took to finally get over the hump.
Yeah, it was as you know, Ty. It was we the mindset had to totally shift. And you guys and the whole staff in general did a great job of identifying and going out and recruiting guys that we felt fit the league. It's our league is different. The MEAC is different,
Yep.
and it's not a high school league, and it's the basketball is really physical,
Yep.
and we had to go and figure out what the physicality, meant for us in the way that we wanted to play. And I think Ty just doing the things that we do in practice, and you being here and seeing a different style of practice and how we had to practice to build, it's very different,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's we've had to, like you said, put the guys in positions to do things harder than they could ever imagine and challenge them in ways that they didn't think was possible. Once they did get into the games, they let it out. And I think that first year we won a championship, we had a very unique style in terms of you subbed 5 and 5. So if one person in that first group wasn't doing what they're supposed to, the whole 5 is out. And we won a championship with pretty much a 10-man rotation, which is very rare at this time. Can you talk a little bit on the mindset behind that, and just because everybody will come to the games and be like, well, why are y'all doing that? And it worked for us, and that was kind of what worked for that group and how we were able to get it done.
Well, we probably had 10, 12 guys that deserved to play.
Absolutely.
And how do we figure out a way to give these guys who are working their tails off every day opportunities to play? So we had to speed the game up. We pressured 41 hot for us, which is full court man, trapping some in those areas. We three-quarter court press with Wizard, our 2-2-1 press. We tried to really attack and put people on their heels as much as possible. And in order to maximize, I thought, everybody's endurance over a 40-minute game, that, you couldn't go hard for 30 minutes, right? But a guy could go hard for maybe 22, 25 minutes. And with subbing 5 in, subbing 5 out, we just found a formula and a way that incorporated everyone's strengths in a way that gave us so much energy and so much juice on both ends of the court. And we used to joke all the time that we would sit at the bench, and by the 12-minute mark, 10-minute mark, 8-minute mark of the second half, teams are just wearing, you could just see it.
Yep.
Teams were just physically wear down. And so that formula for us in that group really worked well.
Yep. So coming out of that first championship, that was the first year of the official transfer portal as we see it now. And I think for us, if you take it 10 years before that, we win a championship, that whole team is coming back. Kind of talk about the transfer portal and how you've evolved with it, and what it means, especially for where you are, the development of the guys you have, and basically, we taking this year as for what it is, and obviously you always got to reevaluate, but just talk about the transfer portal and obviously how it's evolved and how you've evolved with managing it.
Yeah, well, Ty, if we were able to keep that group together, we're probably
Top 25 team.
top 25
Easily.
team in the country.
Easily.
We had one guy, Elijah Hawkins, who led the nation in assists, ended up at Minnesota and then transferred to Texas Tech, was part of their great run. Steve Settle signed with the Miami Heat. Jordan Wood, a 6'10 wing that went to Tulane and is playing professionally right now. If you keep all these guys together and that group together, along with Seth Towns and the other pieces that we brought in, it's a, you're talking about being like a Gonzaga, a mid-major team that has kind of evolved. But the transfer portal has been, it's almost like a startup in itself too.
Yep.
Like, we don't have some of the resources that other teams have. So we have to be really creative. And you talked about our partners earlier, with Jordan Brand and Nuna and some of the things that we've been able to kind of connect to our university and to our program. Those brands have really been helpful in a way. So we've had to be ultra creative in how we do things. Looking at our brand in terms of Howard, it's one of the top 1% of schools in the country. We've been very, looking at the transfer portal with Ivy League schools.
Yep.
And that's been really helpful for us. A guy that has a Harvard degree or a Columbia degree or a Penn degree, now he's coming to a grad school at Howard, and he's coupling that, those two things. It's like those guys can get in any rooms in the country, in the world,
Absolutely.
having those two powerful degrees. And so we've used our brand with that, but we've also had to evolve into now how do we work and deal in this era of the transfer portal. So we've had to be really, really creative. And right now we are very lucky and fortunate that we probably have 10 guys that we're able to kind of do things with in the transfer portal. But it's being really, really creative, really strategic. We have a Mecca Society NIL collective that has been really good. But Daniel Marks is part of our staff, and we just promoted him to GM. He was our chief program strategist when he came in, but spent 9 years in the Bucks, and just trying to be outside the box, Ty, as you know. We've had to do every single thing, as you know. The Duke community has been incredibly supportive, from Randy Chen to Jason Goldblatt, Grant Hill. We can go down the list of guys that have helped us and have been there for us. But just ultra outside the box, and just thinking with a vision of like what's not going on now, what's going on in the future.
Absolutely.
We've had to kind of go beyond what today looks like and try to think of things down the road.
Absolutely. And then, one guy that's on your team now that means a lot to both of us, very rare in this era of basketball, has played for you for 5 years, Bryce Harris.
Yeah.
Can you talk on his impact on the program at Howard and just who he is as a young man on and off the court, and how important it was, obviously, to get him back for his 5th year where he had the opportunity to go anywhere else. He actually did enter the portal and decided to come back and stay. Can you talk about just his legacy at Howard and what he means to the program?
Sure. He's the most influential, important recruit in the history of Howard University. And now you throw in the era of the transfer portal, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
He'll go down as one of the winningest players in the history of our program. A young man from Long Island, New York. He probably, when you see him, think that he's a football player, not a basketball player, but loves the game. His character is something that, when you think about who he is as a person, stands out. He is, as you know, his personality jumps off the page. He's a young man that graduated from our business school. He owns 3 businesses. He's part of a fraternity that when he was going through that, we all were pulling our hair out and couldn't wait for him to get offline. But he's just like right now, if you were to take a poll on Howard's campus, he would be
He's the man.
He's the mayor. He's the mayor. He's the president. He's all those things, and he's with you and the player development stuff that you guys did while you were here, Ty. He's a grinder, and you guys spending so much time in the gym. He's become, the best player in our league.
Yep.
And so far, he's averaging 20, 21 points a game, probably 7, 8 rebounds. He's shooting 50% from the three-point line. He's shooting 50% from 2. He's shooting 80% from the free throw line. His numbers are jumping off the chart right now. But for him to come back for his 5th year, it says a lot, I think, about who he is. But I think it says a lot about our program and our culture and what we were able to build. And for him to trust us, Ty, for a point in where he has to, it's a delicate situation.
Absolutely.
I can go somewhere and I can get quick cash.
Absolutely.
Or I can come back to Howard and I can try to build some equity that will give me, the next 20 to 30, 40 years of life. So, it says a lot about the work that we've all done at Howard.
Absolutely. So you got a guy on your staff that played for you, Thomas Weaver. You have Seth Towns at Harvard. Can you talk about your pipeline of young black coaches in this business and what that means to you?
It's crazy that I even can think about it, right?
Yeah.
When you look at our staff now that's at Howard,
Taylor,
yeah,
with Taylor Lewis
yeah,
as
and
well.
we have Joshua Strong. So
Yep.
Joshua Strong is doing a lot of our player development stuff now on staff. We have Taylor Lewis, who is one of our assistant coaches. Thomas Weaver, one of our assistant coaches. Both of those guys, or all three of those guys, were part of championship
Yep.
teams. Having you here at Duke is incredible. You know, like that's like wow. You know, that wasn't anything that was in the probably in your mind, but I was just like, hey, we got to get by today, man. Let's you know. But you know, you think about that. What 5, 6 years down the,
Yep.
you know, it's like to see that happen. And Seth Towns at Harvard, and then Steve Ongley, who was on our staff,
Yep.
you know, is with the Wisconsin Herd. So it's gradually, you know, shifting where our guys have, because of all the great work that you guys have done, where nobody has seen, you know, behind the scenes the stuff that you do, but
Yep.
then the product comes out and it's like packaged so amazing. You know, it's all a credit to how hard you guys work though. And it's kind of funny because it's like every time that we're here, Ty, we're on an off day when we're here at Cameron.
Yep.
So we never really have, like, it's not a practice that I'm coaching.
Yep.
It's a practice that you guys are coaching.
Yep.
And I think like back, you know, letting you guys take a day a week or 2 days a week, and you guys are running practice, and you know, you're getting there to build and grow your
Absolutely.
voice.
Absolutely.
You know, it just I'm blown away. I'm just a kid from Missouri Avenue, man. And this shit is crazy to me. Like, I can't believe this, man.
No.
I seriously, I can't believe it. You know me. I'm just like, fuck. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But just so proud of everything that you guys are doing, and it's crazy because we didn't when we started, Ty, it was just like, let's win today.
Yeah.
Like, just that day. Like,
Absolutely.
can we come in and we have like a win? Can we get one thing done?
Absolutely.
It wasn't like multiple things, and then, you know, you look 6 years later, it's like, fuck.
Nah, for sure. I think I wouldn't be ready and prepared for this opportunity without you giving me the opportunity to find my voice in the business and challenge me to do more, and really put things on my plate that I may not have been ready for. I mean, when you got the job, you hired 3 guys that had 0 assistant coach experience, right? We had been in programs on that side of it, but we really had no experience in recruiting, understanding budgets, understanding, again, like you said, it's a startup, so it's a lot of stuff we had to get done. You were kind of back and forth from DC to New York, transitioning your life back down to DC. So I'm very grateful for, like I said, the opportunity you gave me out of the blue. Like, I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't like I called and asked. You called me and was like, hey, I'm interviewing for the job. I think you'd be great for it. Would you like to join me? And I'm very thankful and honored to have been a part of them teams and being on that staff. And obviously, like I said, we did stuff that people didn't think we could do. So, you know, one guy that joined the staff right before the school year started, Nate James. We played him when he was at Austin P for 2 years, and he had been out of the business for a little bit. Can you talk about bringing Nate James back and back home to DC for him, but back this year, and how he's impacted the young men in his short time there so far?
Absolutely. It was you know, Nate had been a huge supporter of our program, Ty. You know, every time we played in Atlanta, and we typically try to play a game a year in Atlanta, Nate would come to those games. And playing him for 2 years when he was at Austin P, and then him being out the business, and he following our program, he was very familiar when I called him up and had the initial conversation with him, the exploratory conversation about possibility coming to Howard to being on our staff. And I think that familiarity really helped. But I wanted Nate because he was part of the Brotherhood. For me, you know, to understand what this culture is about, the way we play, the way we've been coached, the way we learn, the way we understand how to win, you know, who better to explain that to our young men than somebody that has gone through this program?
Absolutely.
And as you know, we've had Thomas Hill on staff, yourself, now Nate James. You know, Nate brings a head coach
Yep.
He brings head coaching experience to our program. So with him, and he's working in a role with our big guys, which I think he worked here with Coach K for 12 or 13 years, and playing here for 5 years as a redshirt member of the team here. 18 years at Duke. I mean, you kidding me?
Yep.
And we can get him at Howard?
Yep.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's been a home run. He's done an unbelievable job. Nate's very serious.
Yep.
I didn't know Nate was so serious, but it is great because
I played for Nate when he was assistant, and he was definitely a guy that held us accountable and didn't let off the gas. Again, won a national championship and has that mentality of going to get it.
absolutely, he's won a national championship as a player and a coach. So for us, that's huge, man. We have Coach Bolanis on our team from Georgia Tech. He's a DeMatha guy that went to the Final Four. Having Nate, national championships and just that pedigree around our guys. But Nate's been unbelievable.
Awesome. And before we finish up, I want to get into some fun questions. I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Oh shit!
So since the DMV to Duke pipeline is so great, I need your all-time 5 DMV Duke guys list.
Wow. All right. Jeez, can I give 5? So you got to throw Johnny. Like, Johnny's the most impactful for me, Dookie, ever. Without Johnny, none of this, and Coach, none of this, I don't think, happens or happens the way it happened. Like, Johnny's kind of like the guy that set it off. So Johnny, Tommy Amaker, for sure. Tommy is probably one of the most underrated Duke players to ever play. Got to throw Grant Hill in that list. Grant is probably the best player to ever play at Duke. Between him and Jason Tatum, I think those two guys are probably the best ever. So that's a good debate, though.
Yeah.
Between those two. And I throw you and Quinn Cook out there.
I appreciate that,
Coach. I just think that, having Chop out there as the enforcer.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those that don't know, Ty's nickname from Todd Bozeman is Chop. Ty would fuck him up. But that's what winners do.
Yeah.
Winners will do whatever it takes to win. And that's why I would throw you in that 5. And then Quinn, Quinn's a DC legend and has played so many years. 2-time champion in the NBA?
2-time champ. He's won a championship on every level.
Every level.
Played. And one of the best human beings you could ever come across.
That's a great list of winners.
Yeah.
Like, everybody there, man, has a great resume of winning. So I'd like to be the assistant coach. Not the head coach, the assistant coach.
And then let me put you on. I'm really going to put you on the spot. Since your time at coaching at Howard, let me get your all-time Kenny Blakeney starting 5 from Howard.
Wow. That is challenging. I think we start with Elijah Hawkins,
Yep.
right? Got to throw Steve Settle. Got to throw McCord Maker. Then it gets kind of interesting from there. I got to throw my man Kyle Foster.
Yep.
And then that fifth. Who'd you throw in there for that 5th?
The 5th, I'm going to have to go with Mr. Bryce Harris.
100%.
We put Bryce Harris in there. And, again, it's a tough question because all of those guys, and there's a lot of guys we didn't mention. We got multiple rookies of the years, first team, all conference guys. And, again, guys that won championships. So they will all understand, like, Howard has become a really competitive space. It's become a place where guys can develop their talent. It's become a place where guys who want to go be pros can go be pros. And I think that's the biggest compliment you could have as a coach is developing guys to be great young men, but also they want to play basketball and make some money from it. And we have had guys come through there and do that, know. So it's a place where, like I said, if you want to play basketball and get coached hard and get challenged to do your best, Howard is the place to go. Before we get out of here, you being back home in D.C., behind the bench every game, you have, your wife, you got Naomi, you have your mother, your sister, your brother. Can you talk about what it means to coach in your home city down the street from where you grew up in front of your family? and have that support from the community.
It's crazy. Again, Ty, it's nothing I've ever dreamed about. It's like it has been the most rewarding, fulfilling thing that I've possibly done to be able to raise my daughter. She was born and raised in New York and lived there until she was 4. It's so funny because Bison Madness.
Yep, that's her time to shine.
That's her time to shine, right? But the DJ's out on the ones and twos, and he goes, "Hey, who in the house is from New York?" Naomi goes, "Me." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are." But to have Naomi and to see her, and we live on Capitol Hill, to raise her, a couple of feet away from the Capitol and the monuments and everything like that, and to have my wife, who's 30 years and lived in New York City, now in D.C., and she's going back and forth between the city with her work and in D.C., and then, hell, when I left for college in '91, I never really spent that much time in D.C. Because of work, but I'd be there, holidays and hard times, unfortunately, right?
Yep.
But to see my mom, my sister, my brother at every game, home game, it's unique and special, and they're going to be down this weekend, and to bring things almost like full circle a little bit is going to be kind of fun. So it's been neat, Ty.
That's awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Obviously, you always love, man. I appreciate everything you've done for me. And, Duke family, the Brotherhood family, make sure y'all get out and support Howard men's basketball, support the Mecca Society. And, again, part of that is not necessarily money. Go to a game. Go pull up on those guys. Be a resource for those young men as they move through their lives. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Thank you, my man. Yes,
Appreciate
indeed.
you, bro.
And we out.
Yes, sir.